I am a new grad med-surg float nurse. Let's talk about the pros and the cons of being in the float pool. There's actually like 3 ways we could break this up, right? Because we could break it into pros, cons, and then things that are both pros and cons. Let's get into it. Let's start with the pros. The biggest pro, the most obvious pro, is that you get paid more for being a float nurse. Enough said. I'm doing the same thing as everybody else, except I get paid a little more. Second thing, whether you're a float nurse under a specific specialty like myself, or you're a float nurse that really does bounce around to different specialties, you're still gaining a lot of experience and you're building your skill sets. For me at my hospital, everything that I do is still under the guise of med-surg. However, there are slight differences. One of the floors is mainly for cancer patients, one floor is for surgical patients, one floor is for like general. Another floor I noticed that tends to have a lot of airborne, droplet, or contacts, dealing with a lot of different people and a lot of different disease processes. Now let's get into the pros that are also kind of sort of cons. Going back to the fact that you get a lot of experience and you get to see a lot of different things, that can be a good thing if you get bored easily, you want to change a pace, you want to see something different, but it sucks if you like routine. You come into work, they tell you where you're going. Maybe you wanted to be on this unit, but now you're on this unit. It has its good and its bad. Another one, you don't have to deal with the same people. If you don't like the particular people on unit 1, you don't always have to deal with them. A lot of the time you might be floated to unit 2 and 3. But that can also suck because if you happen to vibe with the people on a unit a lot more, you're not guaranteed to see them. Now for the cons, I think there's really only one big con, and it's that you get first admission a lot. They'll rotate, but because you're not always there to be a part of the usual rotation, you usually will get thrown in to be first or second, and that's annoying. Luckily though, just because you're first admission doesn't mean that you're actually going to get the admission. There's some days where people don't come on the unit. There's some days where the unit is full to capacity. The other 2 cons that I have are not even really that serious. They're just slight inconveniences. You have to remember a lot of codes. You have to remember where things are in the supply room, especially if you haven't floated to a unit in a little while. Now I gotta go ask somebody like it's my first day, and annoying. And then the other one, it's an inconvenience, but it is important. You have to learn the protocol for every particular unit that you float to. It's a slight inconvenience because it's just an extra thing to remember that you have to now implement. If you're somebody that floats to multiple different units, you definitely have to know how they do things in LED versus ICU versus med-surg. There really aren't that much cons, and I definitely would recommend it, especially if it is more under one specialty. I say it all the time. Whenever anybody at my job, anybody at home asks me like, oh, how do you like it? Do you mind floating? No, it's the same thing, different unit, and I get paid more. What's there not to like? Now, I can't say how hectic it gets when you are floating between specialties. If you're that type of float nurse, definitely comment down below. I would love to hear your experience. If you were thinking about joining the float pool, this might be your sign. Hope you guys like the vid.